For this lesson, I'm going to do a recap of the key highlights of Lesson 1. Okay, so let's start off with the first concept on scarcity. So scarcity basically arises due to the limited resources such as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So basically land actually refers to the raw materials, and for labor, that will be the human factor, as well as for capital, that will be referring to the equipment, machinery, buildings, infrastructures, roads. As for the last one, entrepreneurship, that will refer to the risk-taking skills to be able to use land, labor, and capital into productive use. Do note that these resources are also known as factors of production. So moving on, if you face scarcity, you basically have to make a choice on what to produce, using the limited resources you have, and hence you have to weigh between the costs and the benefits. Upon weighing the benefits and the costs of every decision, a choice has to be made. So when you make a choice on a combination of goods that you want to produce, you basically face opportunity costs. So opportunity cost generally refers to one thing that is being forgone, given up, for choosing something else. So let's say if you're stranded on an island, you will have to make a choice on either to make fire first, to go fishing, to make shelter, or to make clothes. So if you decide to go forward and make fire first, you probably have to give up making the time for make shelter. And if you decide to spend more time on shelter first, then you probably have to give up fishing. Alright, so you have to note that opportunity cost here would be actually the cost of always the next best alternative forgone. Moving on, we can actually demonstrate scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost on a graph called the PPF curve. As you can see on the graph here, there are two axes. Now the y-axis will be the garments and the x-axis will be the cars. So there are points located on the PPF, within the PPF, and outside of the PPF. So points A, B, C are just different combinations of garments and cars being produced. So it doesn't mean that A is better than B or B is better than C. It's just a different quantity of the goods being produced. But as you can see, they are lying on the PPF curve itself. So this would mean that actually you have fully utilized your resources. Otherwise, if you see point E, now it's located within the PPF. Now this would actually indicate that resources are underutilized, hence leading to a underproduction of garments and cars. Now looking at point D right now you can see that it's located outside of the PPF. Now when this happens, it means that right now at the moment, this point is currently unattainable due to scarcity, which is limited resources available. Okay, so now let's take a look on how to derive the opportunity cost using the PPF. Now as you can see here, there are 3 points, A, B, C. Alright, let's start off with point A. So let's say if you are going to move from point A to point B. Now you can see that if you move from point A to point B, you are gaining one more unit of garment. But on the other hand, you are losing production of 3 units of cars. Alright, as you continue to move from point B to point C, you are gaining still one more unit of garment, but now you are losing 8 units of cars. So you realize that as you produce more and more and more of garments, it seems that you are giving up more and more of cars. So this is a demonstration of the concept on increasing opportunity costs. Now the reason why is because not all resources, aka factors of production, are equally suitable for the production of all types of goods and services. Okay, so far we have shown you guys that the PPF is a concave curve which demonstrates the increasing opportunity costs. So moving now towards this graph, you can see that now, instead of being concave, it is a straight line. Alright, so what does a straight line PPF demonstrate? Now, in general, a straight line PPF will demonstrate constant opportunity cost. So this would mean that if you see from the graph here, it would mean that if I increase production of one muffin, I will lose the production of one cupcake. If I increase the production of one cupcake, I will lose the production of one muffin. So you can see that the opportunity cost is constant. But however, please note that it doesn't always mean that it's 1 for 1. It's just that it's constant. It could be 1 for 10, 1 for 10, or 2 for 4, 2 for 4. Okay, so long that it is a constant opportunity cost. But as mentioned, this demonstration here would not be a realistic one because we know that all factors of production are not equally suitable for all types of production. So some of you would have asked by now, what happens if there is a change in the number of resources given? When this happens, the PPF can shift, of course. Now it can shift outwards, it can shift inwards. Now let's look at first on outward shift of the PPF. So when the PPF shift outwards, it can be due to if there's an increase in the quantity of resources given. For example, are there more manpower given? There could be more capital goods given like equipment, machine, more raw materials. Or it could be due to there's an increase in the quality of resources. Example would be like people are more trained and skilled now, all right, in operating the machines, all right. The staff are being sent for upgrading course, all right, that will enable them to be more efficient, all right, in their production. Or it could be due to there's an increase in the level of technology. So of course, with technological advancement, this would also increase the production of goods and services, all right. So when does the PPF shift inwards? Now, as mentioned in class previously, we did mention that if there's an inward shift of the PPF, it could be due to events like natural disasters, causing a decrease in the quantity and quality of resources, right? For example, infrastructure, building will be destroyed, okay? People will probably die because of the earthquake or tsunami, etc., right? Causing the PPF to shift inwards. Moving on, I'm just going to briefly recap the three types of economic systems. So basically there are three. Number one would be the market economy, so-called a free market. The second one would be the command economy. And the third one would be the mixed economy. Alright, so in reality, all countries are basically mixed economies because we have the freedom to make our own decisions. Likewise, if there is any failure, so-called market failure, the government will step in to correct any market failure. Alright, so the two extremes would basically be number 1 and 2, which is the purely free market as well as the command economy. So for more details, I would suggest you to read up the PowerPoint slides that we have for lesson 1. Finally, moving to the last part of our recap, as you can see on the diagram here, this is the circular flow of economic activity. In this circular flow, you can see that there are two entities involved, including the households, which is the consumers, the firms, which is the producers. And likewise, there are two markets involved, which is the factor markets as well as the goods market. So how you should interpret this diagram is to always start off with the households. All right. So if you look at the households right now, so imagine, let's have a scenario, all right, an example. So imagine you are working for one of the fast food company. All right. So you contribute your labor, right? So you contribute your labor, as you can see now, the red arrow that's going anti-clockwise to the factor market. Okay, and your labor will be hired by the firms, right? The firms will use your labor to produce the goods and services, which is right now here would be the burgers and the fries. And this will be going to the goods market. Okay. Even though you are working for this fast food company, you could be one of the buyer itself, right? Okay, you buy it for your lunch or a dinner. So you're also consuming the goods that's being produced by the fast food company. All right, going back to you. Now, of course, nothing is for free. So now, when you buy the fast food from the fast food company, all right, in return, you have to pay money. Okay, so this will be constituting to the expenditure. So now you can see the green arrow or the gray arrow going clockwise, all right, to the goods market. All right, so you spend money on the fries, on the burgers, all right, this will go to the firms. Okay, so the firms will basically collect all these expenditures on their goods and services. They can use the money, okay, and then to pay you back as your salary, so your wages. You can see that it's going clockwise to the factor market and finally back to you, okay, for your contribution of labor previously. Most importantly, do not memorize the graph because the entities and the markets can switch positions. The arrows can also switch. Okay, so just remember to start off with households and households contributing labor to factors market, and from there you should be able to interpret the arrows and the flow of direction appropriately.